No, this is not turning into a cooking channel.
But a couple of weeks ago, when I was working on this piece for my Ko-fi subscribers, I noticed that the pattern that I was stitching was starting to look a lot like those electronic numbers that we see all over the place. And I thought, I wonder if I could stitch those numbers using running stitch. All of those LED numbers are made with a really simple grid with 7 different segments. I'm sure we're all familiar with what these numbers look like, but I thought I would draw them all out for you in any case. And as one of the bonuses for my Ko-fi subscribers this week, I will see if I can leave a photograph. I don't know how to do PDFs, but I can probably leave a still photograph that they can download. So I'm going to put some numbers using this system onto my piece here. And I'm going to use this plastic canvas to transfer some dots onto my cloth here that I can use to guide my stitches. And because this month is all about the running stitch, I'm going to use something called the double running stitch, which means that I'm just going to stitch in, out, and there are going to be some gaps in my stitches, but then when I get to the end, I will turn around and come back and fill in all of those gaps.
Did you notice it? Did you notice where that didn't quite go to plan?
In my 7-segment LED layout, there are no angled lines like I've ended up with that first number 2, and I skipped the second 2 to see if the same thing would happen in the 5, and indeed it did. There's an angle there as well.
But I'm not going to take it out. I'm going to keep going and see where this ends.
And now this is the bit where I'm going back and filling in all the gaps. But yes, it would be easier to do this in perhaps a back stitch, but I'm not just doing this to create a pretty design. I'm doing this for the intellectual challenge, and this way is certainly more challenging thinking about where I'm going. And I think I have invented a new font for numbers. I quite like it. It's quite readable, and there's nothing wrong with it, even though it didn't go just as I had planned. But I am going back to my numbers here to see if I can figure out what went wrong. And now I see what the problem is. So I'm going to retry this with a different grid layout here, which is 2 by 8 instead of what I did before, which was 1 by 8. And 1 by 4 would have worked as well, but there you go. There's the 5 and the 2 that we've become so familiar with. And then I thought, I wonder if I could make letters or words using the same system. Let's consider the letters. So the capital A, that works well. And then the next letter is the letter B, but that just ends up looking like an 8. The C should be okay. But then the D, that ends up looking like a 0. So that's not very effective. My stove gets around that problem by using the lowercase, but I think I'd like to see if I can do everything in uppercase. And the answer came from a channel that I like to watch sometimes called Atomic Shrimp. And he did this same process, but actually using LEDs. And the solution he came up with looks a little bit like the Union Jack. With those additional segments, the B ends up looking like this, with the vertical line down the center, and you can do the same thing with the D. And as another bonus, I will write out the whole alphabet for my Ko-fi subscribers this week. So if you're interested in that, I would love to have you join us over on Ko-fi. There's a small subscription each month, but you get all kinds of bonus content. And there'll also be early access to my videos. And if you're interested in this pattern, that was also a Ko-fi bonus, which is also still available through my Ko-fi page. Love to have you join us over there. So I'm going to see if I can work on the word 7. The S was fairly simple, same as the E. Now the V, I don't really like the V suggestion for the new layout very much, so I'm going to take liberties and use a slightly modified version for the V because I can do that. And I'm not limited to the LED segments. I can put my stitches wherever I want. The new layout gives us a really nice end there as well. So using my plastic canvas again to add my dots, and this time I've gone with an 8x2 layout, but I could have easily done a smaller version with 1x4. So I'll start stitching, and again I'm doing this with double running stitch as a bit of an intellectual challenge. And because that is the stitch that I'm working on at the moment, so everything seems to be going well. Nothing unexpected has cropped up, and in my head I can see where this is going. It may not be obvious to you, but I don't think it really matters what order you fill in those spaces, as long as they're all filled in at the end. And so once I've finished going through making one pass, I'll go back in the other direction and fill in all of the blanks, and then you should see the number appear. So what do you think? I think that was quite successful, and the back looks nothing like the front. It's a bit of a code there. So I'm going to say that I was successful in finding a way to use the running stitch to create an electronic alphabet.